Hey everyone, tonight we're diving into a topic that's both ancient and timeless, the rise and enduring legacy of Stoicism, a philosophy born from a shipwreck and carried through empires, battles, and even your morning coffee routine. Picture yourself in Athens, standing on a painted porch under a blazing sun, listening to a man who lost everything, but found something greater clarity. You probably won't survive this world without a few storms of your own, so let's explore how to weather them with a steady mind. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious who's joining us from where. Now, turn down the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soft background music, and let's get started tonight. You're standing on the rocky shore of Athens, the salty wind stinging your face as waves crash against the jagged cliffs. It's the 4th century BCE, and you're watching a man stumble from the surf, his clothes soaked, his eyes hollow. This is Zeno of Citium, a wealthy merchant from Cyprus, now a castaway. His fleet of ships, laden with precious purple dye, lies shattered at the bottom of the sea. Everything he built gone in a single storm. You'd expect despair, maybe a dramatic wail to the gods, but Zeno just sits on a boulder, staring at the horizon, his hands steady. It's not the end. It's the beginning. You follow him as he trudges into the heart of Athens, his sandals slapping against the dusty streets of the agora. The marketplace buzzes with vendors hawking olives, figs, and cheap bronze trinkets. Philosophers shout over each other, their students scribbling notes on wax tablets. Zeno, still damp and penniless, ducks into a bookshop, its shelves stuffed with scrolls. He picks up Xenophon's Memorabilia, a text about Socrates, and something clicks. You see his eyes light up, not with gold lust, but with curiosity. He asks the bookseller, "Where can I find a man like this?" The old man points to a figure hobbling past a scruffy philosopher named Crates, a cynic who once tossed his coins into the sea to prove wealth means nothing. You smirk. Zeno's about to get a crash course in letting go. Crates takes him under his wing, and you watch Zeno wrestle with the cynic's radical ideas. Live in a barrel? Eat scraps? No thanks. Zeno's not ready to go full hermit, but he's hooked on the idea of a life guided by reason, not riches. You trail him as he studies, soaking up Socrates' ethics, Heraclitus' logic, and Crates' defiance. Soon, he's not just a student, he's teaching. You find him under a painted colonnade, the Stoa Poikile, its murals glowing with scenes of gods and heroes. A crowd gathers, mostly curious passers-by, as Zeno speaks in a calm, measured voice about virtue, about living in harmony with nature. It's not flashy, but it's magnetic. You lean in, catching his words. You can't control the storm, but you can control how you sail through it. The crowd nods, and you do too. It's practical, not preachy. Here's the weird bit. Zeno's school isn't a school. It's just this porch, open to anyone, merchants, sailors, even the occasional stray dog. No tuition, no secret handshakes. Stoicism, named after this very Stoa, is born not in a temple but in public, for everyone. Historians still debate whether Zeno meant to start a movement or just share what saved him. Was he a guru or a guy who got lucky? Either way, you're watching the spark of a philosophy that'll outlast empires. You notice a kid in the crowd, wide-eyed, clutching a loaf of bread. He's listening to Zeno like it's the first time someone's made sense of the world. You get it. Life's chaotic storms, debts, betrayals, and Zeno's offering a map, not to wealth, but to peace. You linger as the sun sets, the porch glowing orange, and Zeno's voice carries on, steady as ever. Virtue, he says, is the only good. You nod, feeling the weight of it. The world's a mess. But maybe you can be okay. Oh, and here's a light one for you. Why did Zeno teach on a porch? Because the rent was free, and the view was better than a ship's deck. You chuckle. But the truth is, this open-air classroom is where it all begins. Zeno's not promising happiness, just a way to stand tall when the waves hit. You walk away, the agora fading behind you, wondering what's next for this shipwrecked philosopher and his new tribe. You're back under the shaded arches of the Stoa Poikile, the painted porch in Athens, where the air smells faintly of olive oil from the nearby market stalls, and the faint tang of sea salt carried on the breeze from the harbor. The murals on the walls glow in the afternoon light, vibrant scenes of Trojan heroes clashing swords, gods lounging on clouds, all splashed across the colonnade like some ancient comic strip. You settle onto a stone bench, worn smooth by countless philosophers and their debating buddies, as Zeno paces slowly in front of a growing crowd. His voice is low and steady, like a gentle wave lapping at the shore, pulling you in without any rush. Remember that shipwreck from before? The one that left him dripping and destitute? Well, it's fresh in his mind too, fueling every word he says. He's not ranting about lost fortunes. He's whispering about finding something unbreakable inside yourself. You lean forward, catching the rhythm of his speech, each pause letting the words sink in like a soft exhale. Zeno's not here to dazzle with fancy rhetoric or promise you eternal bliss. Nope, he's laying out the basics of what will become Stoicism, starting with the big one, logos. You hear him explain it, his hands gesturing calmly as if shaping the air itself. Logos isn't just some fancy Greek word for reason. It's the divine spark running through everything, the rational order of the universe, like an invisible blueprint holding the stars in place and the tides in check. You imagine it as the ultimate cosmic GPS, guiding not just planets, but your own messy life. Align with logos, Zeno says, his eyes scanning the crowd, and you'll live in harmony with nature. Fight it, and you're just a fool splashing against the current. You nod slowly, feeling the weight of it settle over you like a warm blanket on a chilly evening. The crowd murmurs, a mix of merchants pausing their haggling, young students scribbling on scraps of papyrus, and even a few curious slaves lingering at the edges. You spot one guy in the back, probably a baker from the flour dusting his tunic, chuckling softly as Zeno drops a line about how chasing wealth is like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. Historians still debate whether Zeno ever meant to kick off a full-blown philosophy school, or if he was just venting his post-shipwreck wisdom to whoever wandered by. Was it accidental genius, or a deliberate stand against the chaos? Either way, you're right there, as it happens, the canonical event unfolding. Zeno's first public teachings in the Stoa, around 300 BCE, marking the official birth of Stoicism. No fanfare, no trumpets, just a guy on a porch, turning personal ruin into universal truth. You shift on the bench, the stone cool against your legs, as Zeno dives deeper. He talks about virtue arete, in Greek, as the only true good, not money, not fame, not even that fancy new chariot everyone's buzzing about in the agora. Those are indifferents, nice-to-haves that can vanish faster than a bad date. You smirk at the thought. Imagine swiping right on a philosophy that tells you your bank account doesn't define you. Zeno's got this quiet sarcasm, too, poking fun at how people chase pleasures like dogs after their tails. Happiness isn't in the externals, he says, pausing for effect, his voice dropping to that ASMR whisper that makes your eyelids feel a tad heavier. It's in how you respond. The world hurls chaos, storms, betrayals. That neighbor who borrows your tools and never returns them but you. You choose your stance. An odd detail catches your ear amid the murmurs. Zeno's early followers included a Persian slave named Perseus, and even a king from Thrace, all drawn to this painted porch like moths to a flame. Kings and slaves side by side? Talk about an unusual mixer. You picture it, the king in his embroidered robes, brushing shoulders with the slave in rags, both nodding along as Zeno compares life to being a dog tied to a cart. The cart moves forward, he explains, whether you like it or not. You can trot along willingly, or get dragged kicking and yelping. Your choice. You let out a soft chuckle. It's like ancient advice for dealing with traffic jams, or that endless Zoom meeting that could have been an email. Joke's on us modern folks. We'd probably invent an app for it. Stoic Cart Simulator, complete with virtual yelps. The sun dips lower, casting long shadows across the murals, turning the heroes' faces into elongated whispers. You feel the group's energy shift, a collective breath as Zeno wraps up for the day. He's not done, though. You see him linger, chatting with a few stragglers, his words like a lullaby against the fading bustle of the agora. Master your mind, he tells one eager listener, and the indifferents lose their grip. You think back to his soaked arrival on the shore, how far he's come, turning loss into this steady flame. A light-hearted quip bubbles up in your mind. Why did Zeno avoid the marketplace crowds? Because he knew the real bargain was inner peace, not those overpriced figs. You smile faintly, the sarcasm blending with the sleepy rhythm of his voice. As the crowd thins, you rise slowly, the stone bench leaving a faint imprint on your thoughts. Zeno's teachings aren't flashy spells or quick fixes. They're tools for the long haul, forged in that shipwreck's fire. You wander toward the edge of the porch, the evening air cooling your skin, carrying hints of roasting meat from nearby stalls. It's tempting to stay, to soak in more of this logos logic, but the day's winding down. Remember, though, that dog and cart analogy. It's not about stopping the ride, just running with grace. You pause, glancing back at Zeno, who's now deep in conversation with a young boxer type, his face animated but calm. Little do you know, that guy's about to add some muscle to this porch wisdom. But for now, the Stoic spark flickers on, warm and unyielding, like a lantern in the gathering dusk. Another joke slips in as you step away. What do you call a Stoic who's bad at analogies? A dog who's all bark and no cart. You chuckle softly, the sound fading into the evening hum. The philosophy's taking root, one quiet lesson at a time, and you're right in the thick of it, feeling that inner anchor start to hold. You're still lingering under the Stoa Poikile, the painted porch's arches casting dappled shadows that dance lazily across the stone floor as the afternoon sun filters through, warming your skin like a gentle hug from an old friend. The air hums with the distant chatter of the agora vendors, calling out deals on honeyed figs, the clink of coins changing hands, and the occasional bray of a donkey echoing off the walls. You settle back against a column, its cool marble pressing into your shoulder blades, as Zeno's voice weaves through the crowd like a soft thread, pulling everyone closer without effort. Remember that dog and cart analogy from earlier? The one that had you chuckling about modern traffic? Well, Zeno's building on it now, his words dropping with that rhythmic pause, each one hanging in the air, just long enough to let you breathe it in, like a whisper meant only for your ears. He circles back to the heart of it all, logos. You feel your mind sharpening as he describes it, not as some dusty abstract, but as the very pulse of the universe, that divine, rational order threading through everything from the stars wheeling overhead to the waves that smashed his ships. Logos is the blueprint, Zeno says, his tone low and even, almost lulling you into a trance, the cosmic reason that governs the chaos, turning random storms into purposeful patterns. You picture it vividly, the vast Mediterranean Sea from his shipwreck tale, its furious waves not just blind fury, but part of a grand design. Logos, whispering directions even in the roar. It's like the universe has its own operating system, and Logos is the code keeping it all from crashing. You smirk at the modern twist. If Logos were an app, it'd be the one that never glitches, no updates needed, just eternal stability. The crowd leans in, a mix of wide-eyed youths and grizzled traders, their faces softening in the golden light. You catch the scent of fresh-baked bread wafting from a nearby stall, mingling with the earthy aroma of the porch's ancient stones, grounding you in this moment. Zeno paces slowly, his sandals scraping softly against the floor, each step a deliberate beat in his sleepy cadence. He explains how aligning with Logos means living in harmony with nature, not fighting the inevitable, but flowing with it like a leaf on a gentle stream. Pursue virtue, he murmurs, and Logos will guide your sails, no matter the gale. It's the canonical event here, around 300 BCE, when Zeno formalizes Logos as Stoicism's cornerstone during these porch sessions, turning his personal epiphany into a shared anchor for anyone listening. Historians still debate whether Zeno drew Logos straight from Heraclitus's fiery flux or blended it with cynic defiance, but either way, you're witnessing it solidify right here under these murals. An odd detail slips in as Zeno speaks. He mentions how even animals embody Logos instinctively, like the stray dogs wandering the agora, scavenging with unerring purpose, never wasting energy on futile chases. You glance at one nearby, a scruffy mutt eyeing a dropped olive pit, and think, maybe that's why cats always land on their feet. Logos built in, no philosophy degree required. It adds this quirky layer, reminding you that Stoicism isn't lofty ivory tower stuff. It's as everyday as that dog's next meal. Zeno chuckles softly himself, a rare spark of sarcasm breaking through his calm. If a dog can follow Logos without complaint, why do we humans whine about every little bump? The group laughs lightly, the sound rolling like a distant wave, and you join in, feeling the tension in your shoulders ease. You shift slightly, the column's texture rough under your fingers, as Zeno dives deeper, his voice dropping to that ASMR whisper, each word spaced for maximum relaxation. Logos isn't cold logic, he says, pausing to let the idea settle. It's the warm thread connecting us, all your thoughts, the world's rhythm, even the God's will. You imagine applying it today, stuck in a never-ending email chain at work? Logos says, respond with virtue, not frustration. It's like upgrading your mental OS to version eternal calm. Joke time. Why did the Stoic refuse to update his phone? Because Logos already had all the features he needed, no bugs included. You grin inwardly, the sarcasm blending with the serene vibe, as if Zeno's reading your mind across centuries. The sun slants lower, painting the murals in deeper hues of crimson and gold, the heroes seeming to lean in as if eavesdropping on the lesson. You feel a soft breeze stir, carrying hints of salt from the harbor, a callback to Zeno's watery origins. He talks about indifference now, how things like wealth or health are secondary to virtue guided by logos, nice bonuses, but not the game itself. Chase them, he warns with a wry smile, and you'll be the dog dragged by the cart, yelping all the way. Another light-hearted jab bubbles up. What do you call a Stoic who's obsessed with logos? A reasonable person, get it? You chuckle quietly, the joke landing like a feather, light and fleeting. Zeno's eyes meet yours for a split second or so it feels, and he nods subtly, as if affirming your grasp on this. Logos isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about directing them wisely, letting reason steer the ship through life's fog. You breathe deeper, the air tasting cleaner, crisper, as the concept clicks. It's the rational force, making sense of the senseless, turning your own shipwrecks, lost jobs, broken hearts into stepping stones. An unusual quirk from the era. Some early Stoics visualized logos as a literal fire, Heraclitus, style, consuming and renewing everything, which explains why Zeno sometimes gestures like he's fanning invisible flames during his talks. Weird, but it fits the warmth of understanding amid cold uncertainty. As the session winds down, the crowd thins, shadows lengthening like lazy fingers across the porch. Zeno's voice fades to a murmur. Embrace logos, and peace follows, unbidden. You rise slowly, legs tingling from sitting so long, the stone's chill lingering on your skin. Remember that baker from earlier, the one with flour on his tunic? He's lingering too, nodding thoughtfully, perhaps pondering how logos applies to kneading dough. Perfect rise every time. No overproofing drama. It's all connecting. This web of reason, pulling you forward without force. Another joke to ease the transition. Why don't Stoics play hide and seek? Because logos always finds them. It's the ultimate seeker. You smile, the sarcasm a gentle nudge, as the agora's bustle softens into evening quiet. Logos defined, grasped in your mind like a steady handhold, ready for whatever comes next under this painted haven. You're stepping away from the fading glow of the Stoa Poikile now. The evening shadows stretching long across the agora, like lazy fingers reaching for the last scraps of daylight, the air cooling just enough to raise a faint shiver on your arms as you weave through the thinning crowd. Vendors are packing up their stalls, the scent of lingering spices, cinnamon and cumin, mixing with the earthy dust kicked up by passing sandals, creating this cozy haze that makes you want to slow your steps. Breathe deeper. Remember that young boxer type from earlier? The one catching Zeno's eye with his wide stance and calloused knuckles? Well, he's not just a bystander anymore. He's stepping into the light, and you're right there, following him as he transforms from a fighter in the ring to a pillar of Stoic strength. This is Cleanthes, the man who'll add some real muscle to Zeno's porch wisdom, his story unfolding like a slow, deliberate punch that lands with quiet power. You trail him through the winding streets of Athens, the cobblestones uneven under your feet, each step echoing softly in the gathering dusk. Cleanthes isn't your typical philosopher, no flowing robes or lofty airs here. He's a former pugilist, built like a statue of Hercules, with broad shoulders that speak of years, throwing hooks and uppercuts in dusty arenas, sweat flying under the relentless sun. You can almost hear the roar of past crowds, the thud of fists on flesh, as he lumbers along, his breath steady and rhythmic, like a metronome set to chill. By day, he studies under Zeno, soaking up logos like a sponge, But by night, he hauls water for a local gardener, buckets sloshing against his thighs, the cool liquid splashing occasionally onto his tunic, leaving dark patches that dry slowly in the moonlight. It's grunt work, pure and simple, but Cleanthes does it without a grumble. Embodying that stoic resilience, Zeno preaches turning hardship into habit, one heavy lift at a time. The canonical event hits around 262 BCE, when Cleanthes succeeds Zeno as head of the Stoic school, not through flashy debates or inherited wealth, but through sheer, unyielding perseverance, his leadership marking the philosophy's first generational handoff. You imagine the moment. Zeno, aging and wise, passing the torch on that very porch. The painted murals witnessing as Cleanthes nods solemnly, his boxer's hands clasping his mentor's in a grip that's firm but gentle. Historians still debate whether Cleanthes was chosen for his intellectual depth or simply because he outlasted the others. Grinding through poverty while fancier students dropped off, did Zeno see a kindred survivor, or was it Logos at work, selecting the steadiest soul? Either way, you're watching him earn it, night after night, his muscles aching from labor, yet his mind sharpening like a blade on a whetstone. You pause with him at the garden's edge, the scent of damp soil and blooming jasmine filling your nostrils, a soft breeze rustling the leaves like a whispered secret. Cleanthes dips his bucket into a stone well, the rope creaking faintly, water gurgling up in a soothing rhythm that matches his measured breaths. Inhale, pull, exhale, lift. It's ASMR. Before ASMR was a thing, this repetitive motion lulling you into a trance, the splash and slosh echoing in the quiet night. He once said, "Philosophy without practice is like a boxer shadow-punching air, looks good, but crumbles in the real fight." You chuckle softly at the image. Modern gym bros flexing in mirrors, all pose no purpose, while Cleanthes is out here doing the ancient equivalent of deadlifts for the soul. Joke one for the road. What do you call a stoic boxer who never complains? A punchline philosopher, always landing wisdom without the drama. His teachings build on Zeno's logos, but Cleanthes adds heart, literally. You follow him back to the Stoa at dawn, the first rays of sun painting the porch in soft pinks and golds, birds chirping lazily overhead as he gathers a small group of early risers. His voice is gravelly, slow, like honey dripping from a comb, each word spaced for emphasis, inviting you to lean in, eyelids heavy. Logos isn't just reason, he rumbles, pausing to let the idea settle. It's the divine fire, animating all, Zeus himself, woven into the cosmos. You feel the warmth of it, this poetic twist on Zeno's blueprint, Cleanthes turning abstract order into something alive, pulsing like the heartbeat after a tough round in the ring. His famous hymn to Zeus flows from him now, recited in that deep timbre, praising the god as the ultimate rational force, guiding thunderbolts and human fates alike. It's not flattery, but a declaration, logos, as a grand, harmonious plan, even the painful bits included. An odd detail sneaks in amid his words. Cleanthes was mocked for being slow of speech, his delivery plodding like an ox plowing a field. Yet that very steadiness drew followers, proving Stoicism values substance over sparkle. You picture the hecklers in the crowd, snickering at his pauses, but Cleanthes just smiles faintly, unfazed, his resilience shining through like polished bronze. It's quirky. Imagine a TED Talk where the speaker takes forever to get to the point, but you leave transformed anyway. He introduces emotion into the mix too, suggesting feelings like awe at nature or love for wisdom have a place, if aligned with reason, not wild indulgence, but balanced fuel for the inner fire. You nod along, the morning light warming your face, the scent of fresh dew on grass mingling with the faint smoke from nearby hearths, creating this serene bubble. Cleanthes embodies resilience in the everyday grind, his life a walking proof that virtue comes from perseverance, not privilege. You watch him spar lightly with a student, not fists, but ideas demonstrating how to accept hardship with grace, like dodging a punch without rage. The body tires, he says, his voice dropping to a whisper, each syllable a soft caress, but the soul, anchored in logos, stands unmoved. It's practical magic for life's battles, whether ancient arenas or your modern Monday blues. Light-hearted joke, too. Why did Cleanthes make a great gardener? Because he knew how to weed out distractions and grow inner strength. Talk about philosophical mulch. You grin, the sarcasm light as the breeze, as he continues, his presence solid, reassuring. By midday, the Stoa buzzes again, but Cleanthes keeps it grounded, his teachings like a slow river carving stone, patient, powerful. You feel your own tensions easing, shoulders dropping, breaths sinking with his rhythm. Remember Zeno's dog and cart? Cleanthes amps it up. Run with the cart, but build the endurance to pull it if needed. His poverty isn't a burden, it's training. Logos testing his mettle. Unusual quirk alert. He reportedly worked nights for years, saving every coin, not for luxury, but to fund his studies, turning water, hauling into a Stoic gym session. Historians debate if this was pure necessity or deliberate asceticism, a cynic holdover from Crates' influence. Did he choose the grind, or did Logos choose it for him? As the sun climbs higher, casting shorter shadows, Cleanthes wraps his session, his voice fading like a gentle echo. Strength isn't in the fist, he murmurs, pausing for that sleepy effect, but in the will that endures. You linger, the air humming with quiet energy, the porch's murals seeming to nod in approval. Joke 3, to lighten the load. What's a Stoic boxer's favorite workout? Punching through illusions, uppercut to ego, hook to desire. You chuckle inwardly, the day unfolding steadily. Cleanthes' resilience seeping into you like warm sunlight. He's the muscle behind the mind, proving Stoicism isn't fragile theory, it's built to last. One deliberate step at a time. You're meandering through the bustling streets of Athens now, the midday sun beating down like a relentless trainer in a gym you didn't sign up for, casting sharp shadows that slice across the cobblestones and make the air shimmer with heat, carrying the mingled scents of olive groves and distant sea salt that tickle your nostrils with every breath. The Stoa Poikiel looms ahead, its painted murals faded just a touch from years of sun and rain, but still vibrant enough to draw your eye to those heroic scenes, as if the gods themselves are watching the next chapter unfold. Remember Cleanthes from before? That boxer turned water hauler with his gravelly voice and unshakable grit, turning night shifts into Stoic workouts? Well, he's passing the torch now, and you're right there, stepping into the shadow of his successor, a man who's about to turn this porch philosophy into a razor-sharp system, logic so tight It could cut through fog like a hot knife through butter. This is Chrysippus, the logician extraordinaire, his mind a whirlwind of syllogisms and structures, ready to build Stoicism's skeleton from the ground up. You settle onto a worn wooden stool at the edge of the crowd, the grain rough against your palms, as Chrysippus takes center stage under the colonnade, his frame lean and wiry, nothing like Cleanthes' bulky build, but with eyes that sparkle with intellectual fire, darting like arrows seeking targets. The air buzzes with anticipation, a soft murmur rippling through the listeners, students, traders, even a few skeptical sophists lurking in the back as he begins to speak in a crisp, surgical tone, each word clipped and precise, yet spaced with those deliberate pauses that let you sink into the rhythm, your eyelids growing just a fraction heavier in the warm haze. He's not here to poeticize like Cleanthes or spark like Zeno. No, Chrysippus is the builder, the one who takes the raw materials of logos and virtue, hammering them into a framework that's unassailable, logical proofs, stacking like bricks in a fortress wall. You lean in, feeling the subtle shift in the group's energy, from relaxed porch chat to something more intense, like upgrading from casual coffee talk to a high-stakes chess match. The canonical event crystallizes around 232 BCE, when Chrysippus assumes leadership of the Stoic school after Cleanthes' passing, not through inheritance or popularity contests, but by sheer intellectual dominance. His prolific writings, over 700 books, most lost to time, redefining Stoicism as a comprehensive system, blending ethics, physics, and logic into one cohesive whole. You imagine the handover. Cleanthes, weary but proud, nodding from his stool as Chrysippus launches into his first major lecture, the porch echoing with his voice, marking the philosophy's evolution from inspirational talks to rigorous discipline. Historians still debate whether Chrysippus truly saved Stoicism from fading into obscurity, or if he overcomplicated Zeno's simple wisdom, turning a practical guide into an academic labyrinth. Did his logic elevate it, or bury the heart under layers of syllogisms? Either way, you're witnessing the sharpening, his ideas slicing through ambiguities like a scalpel, clarifying what Zeno sparked and Cleanthes strengthened. Chrysippus dives right in, his voice rising slightly for emphasis, then dropping back to that measured cadence, each pause a breath of cool air in the stifling heat. Virtue alone suffices for happiness, he declares, echoing Zeno, but backing it with ironclad arguments, distinguishing what's in our control, our judgments, actions from the indifference, like health or wealth, which can flip on a whim, like that stock market app notification that tanks your mood on a random Tuesday. You chuckle inwardly at the modern parallel. Imagine Chrysippus scrolling through his feed, unfazed by viral drama, muttering, "Indifferent next." He expands on logos, portraying it as the rational soul of the universe, a divine fire that consumes and renews, but now with logical scaffolding, propositions and inferences proving why aligning with it leads to eudaimonia, that flourishing life free from emotional turbulence. The crowd nods slowly, the sun glinting off a nearby fountain, its trickle adding a soothing underscore to his words, like nature itself approving the lecture. An odd detail emerges as he speaks. Chrysippus reportedly died laughing at his own joke, watching a donkey eat figs. He quipped, "Give the beast some wine too," and cracked up so hard he keeled over, a quirky end for such a serious thinker. proving even logicians have a sense of humor buried under the proofs. You picture it, the great mind undone by a tipsy donkey vision, and grin talk about going out with a punchline instead of a theorem. He refines the Stoic dichotomy of control, arguing we can't command externals, but can master our responses using logic to dismantle fears. If death is inevitable, why fret? It's like debugging your brain's code, removing the bugs that crash your calm. Joke 1 slips in here. What did the Stoics say to the anxious app developer? Your code's fine. It's your reactions that need a patch. You feel the sarcasm land lightly, easing the intellectual weight as Chrysippus continues, his hands gesturing sharply, carving ideas from the air. You shift on your stool, the wood creaking faintly, as a light breeze stirs the dust at your feet, carrying the faint aroma of roasting chestnuts from a street vendor, tempting but ignored in this mental feast. Chrysippus introduces the lecton, that sayable meaning behind words, a concept tying language to logic, ensuring our thoughts align with reality. Not illusions, think of it as ancient autocorrect for the soul, preventing miscommunications with the universe. His wit shines through too. When accused of hypocrisy, he snapped back. Blame a sick doctor for knowing the cure? It's biting, sarcastic, reminding you that Stoicism isn't about perfection, but persistent effort, closing the gap between ideals and actions, one logical step at a time. You breathe deeper, the ASMR rhythm of his pauses syncing with your pulse, eyelids fluttering in the warmth as he weaves metaphysics into the mix. The universe, as a living being, logos its soul, cycles of conflagration, renewing everything, like a cosmic reset button. The session builds, Chrysippus pacing with controlled energy, his voice a steady drumbeat against the agora's hum donkeys braying, children laughing in the distance, grounding his abstractions in the everyday. He argues ethics stem from physics, virtue, the natural outcome of understanding logos, not some arbitrary rule set. You call back to Zeno's shipwreck. Without Chrysippus's logic, that storm might have stayed a tragedy, but now it's proof, tested, resilient against doubt. Joke 2. What's a Stoic logician's favorite game? Sudoku, because every puzzle resolves with reason. No guesswork allowed. The light-hearted jab floats by, blending with the serene vibe, as an unusual quirk surfaces. Chrysippus wrote so voluminously that rivals joked his books outnumbered the stars, yet he plagiarized none. Originality his badge, though some fragments suggest heavy borrowing from earlier thinkers. Quirky ego in a humble philosophy. Chrysippus hardened Stoicism, making it more than comfort for the wrecked or poetic endurance. It's discipline, a tool for cutting confusion, his system towering like the Acropolis itself. You feel the shift, the philosophy gaining edges, ready for Rome's embrace. Joke 3. Why did Chrysippus avoid parties? Too many indifferents crashing the logic gate. You smirk, the sarcasm a gentle nudge. As the sun dips, shadows lengthening, his voice fading into whispers. Logic illuminates, he murmurs, pausing long, the path through chaos. You rise slowly, legs tingling, the air cooling, carrying you forward on this Stoic current, sharpened and steady. You're crossing the sun-baked hills of Italy now, the dusty road winding like a lazy serpent under your feet, the air thick with the scent of wild thyme and distant pine resin that clings to your skin, warm and sticky, as if the land itself is whispering secrets of conquest and calm. The Mediterranean sparkles far below, a callback to Zeno's fateful shipwreck, those waves that birthed Stoicism now lapping at Roman shores, carrying the philosophy across empires like driftwood on a tide. You've left the painted porch behind, that Athenian haven where Chrysippus sharpened logic into a blade, Cleanthes added muscle, and Zeno sparked the flame. Now you're stepping into Rome, where Stoicism sheds its Greek robes for something grittier, more practical, like swapping a toga for armor in the arena. The eternal city rises ahead, its marble forums gleaming white against the blue sky, the hum of chariots and merchants' calls growing louder, a chaotic symphony that begs for inner order. And Stoicism, it's about to become the ultimate Roman life hack, transforming from porch musings into a toolkit for surviving senators, soldiers, and schemers alike. You weave through the crowded streets, the cobblestones uneven and worn, each step jolting you slightly as vendors hawk spiced sausages and cheap wine, their voices a rhythmic drone that blends with the distant roar from the Colosseum, where gladiators clash for glory or just a paycheck. By the time Stoicism hits Rome around the 2nd century BCE, it's no longer just intellectual chit-chat. The Romans, ever the pragmatists, strip it down, ditching Chrysippus's denser syllogisms for bite-sized wisdom that fits in a soldier's pack or a statesman's scroll. You pause at a bustling forum, the air heavy with incense from nearby temples, as philosophers in threadbare tunics debate under arches, their words echoing off stone like soft rain on tile. Stoicism's appeal here? It's armor for the soul in a world of wars, betrayals, and that endless grind of empire building where one wrong alliance could land you in the Tiber, floating face down. The canonical event unfolds in 155 BCE, when a Greek embassy, including the Stoic Diogenes of Babylon, arrives in Rome, lecturing to packed audiences and igniting widespread interest, marking Stoicism's official embrace by Roman elites and setting the stage for its integration into daily life, from Senate debates to frontier forts. You imagine the scene: Diogenes, voice steady amid the skeptical crowd of toga-clad patricians, explaining logos as the rational force guiding not just stars, but legions and laws, his words cutting through the political fog like a lighthouse beam. Historians still debate whether this embassy truly converted Rome, or if Stoicism was already simmering underground, smuggled in by traders and slaves. Did Diogenes plant the seed, or was he just watering a garden already sprouting? Either way, you're right there, feeling the shift as Romans latch on, molding it into something utilitarian, less about cosmic fire and more about keeping your cool when your bosser, emperor, goes off the rails. You lean against a sun-warmed column, the marble smooth and veined like aged cheese, as the philosophy evolves. Romans favoring its focus on self-mastery over abstract metaphysics, turning Zeno's indifference into a shield against fortune's whims. Lost a battle? Indifferent. Got promoted? Nice, but not the point. The air cools slightly as a breeze stirs, carrying the faint tang of the Tiber's murky waters, a reminder of life's fleeting flow, much like Cleanthes' water-hauling nights, now echoed in Roman aqueducts, channeling wisdom across the empire. Stoicism becomes the go-to for statesmen facing conspiracies, generals enduring sieges, even everyday folks dodging tax collectors. Its principles whispered in bathhouses and barracks, a quiet rebellion against chaos. You smirk at the irony. These conquerors of worlds, obsessed with control, finding peace in admitting they control zilch, accept their reactions like upgrading from world domination to mind domination, one indifferent at a time. An odd detail catches your ear amid the forum chatter. Some Roman Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, imagining worst-case scenarios daily, like mentally rehearsing your villa burning down while sipping morning wine, a quirky habit that turned paranoia into preparation, proving even tough guys needed mental drills. You picture a burly centurion, sword at his side, closing his eyes to visualize defeat, then snapping back with a grunt talk about ancient exposure therapy, minus the couch. Joke 1 bubbles up. Why did the Roman Stoic refuse therapy? Because he already premeditated all his malorum self-help empire style. You chuckle softly, the sarcasm light as the drifting pollen, blending with the sleepy rhythm of the crowd's murmurs, eyelids heavy in the midday warmth. The philosophy spreads like vines over ruins, influencing everything from law codes to literature. Romans, blending it with their own grit virtue, now includes duty to the state, logos aligned with Jupiter's will, making it feel homegrown rather than imported. You wander toward a shaded taberna, the scent of garum fish sauce wafting out, pungent and salty, as patrons inside debate Epictetus's future ideas early, though he's not here yet. The seeds planted. It's practical magic. Facing betrayal? Recall Chrysippus's logic, judge wisely, respond virtuously. Modern twist hits you imagine a CEO channeling this during a boardroom coup, muttering indifferent while plotting their comeback email. The ASMR vibe settles in, the soft clink of cups and low voices lulling you. Each pause in conversation, a breath, inviting relaxation amid the empire's hustle. Stoicism's Roman makeover strips the fluff, emphasizing resilience in real-world mess plagues, politics, that neighbor who borrows your plow and ghosts you. You feel the pull. This evolution from Greek theory to Roman reality, callbacks to Zeno's porch, now echoing in vast forums, Cleanthes' endurance in legion marches. Joke 2. What do you call a Stoic in Rome? A gladiator of the mind fighting inner battles without the net. The light-hearted jab lands gently, sarcasm whispering like the wind through olive leaves. As you sink deeper into the scene, the sun's heat easing into a warm embrace. By late afternoon, shadows lengthen across the forum, the air cooling with hints of evening jasmine, the philosophy firmly embedded, ready for figures like Seneca to wrestle its contradictions. You rise slowly, legs tingling from the stone seat, the city's pulse sinking with your breath. Inhale empire's chaos, exhale stoic calm. Joke 3. Why don't Roman Stoics play cards? Too many indifferents, in the deck virtues the only ace. You grin inwardly, the day winding down, Stoicism's embrace feeling like a steady hand on your shoulder, guiding through the eternal city's timeless tumult. You're strolling through the opulent halls of Nero's palace now, the marble floors cool and slick under your bare feet, echoing with the distant strum of lyres and the faint, metallic tang of incense smoke curling lazily from golden braziers, wrapping you in a haze that's equal parts luxury and lurking danger, like a velvet glove hiding a dagger. The empire's heart beats here in Rome, that chaotic sprawl you wandered into earlier, where Stoicism morphed from Greek porch talks into Roman survival gear, remember Chrysippus, sharpening logic like a blade, or Cleanthes hauling water under moonlight. Well, now it's personal, tangled in the life of Seneca the Younger, philosopher, playwright, and Nero's reluctant advisor. His world a tightrope walk between lofty ideals and the gritty grind of power. where one wrong word could turn a banquet into a bloodbath. Though we'll keep it PG, with just the whispers of intrigue. You slip into Seneca's private study, the air heavy with the scent of aged papyrus and flickering oil lamps casting long shadows that dance like uneasy spirits across shelves crammed with scrolls. His desk cluttered with half-written letters that smell faintly of ink and regret. Seneca's no starving artist. He's wealthy, elite, educated to the hilt, his toga embroidered with threads that could buy a small villa, yet his writings pulse with awareness of life's fragility, that shipwreck echo from Zeno, rippling through centuries, to remind him and you that comfort's a illusion, ready to shatter like cheap pottery. You lean against a column, the stone warm from the day's heat, as Seneca paces slowly, his voice in your mind, a measured murmur, each pause drawing you deeper into that ASMR lull. Eyelids growing heavy as he preaches restraint, mindfulness, simplicity, warning against emotions, ruling like a tyrant in your head. The canonical event hits in 54 CE, when Seneca becomes tutor and advisor to the young Nero upon his ascension as emperor, a role that thrusts Stoicism into the imperial spotlight, his influence shaping policy, while his letters and essays distill the philosophy into practical advice for enduring Rome's cutthroat scene. You picture it unfolding. Nero, volatile and vain, lounging on a silk couch as Seneca reads from his works. The room thick with the aroma of roasted peacocks from the kitchens below. His words cutting through the excess like a cool breeze, yet historians still debate whether Seneca truly tempered Nero's madness or enabled it, propping up a regime that spiraled into tyranny, his Stoic principles clashing with the compromises of court life. Was he a hypocrite cashing in, or a flawed sage trying to steer the ship from within? Either way, you're navigating those contradictions with him, feeling the tension coil like a spring under your skin. Seneca's letters to Lucilius flow from him now, his quill scratching softly against the page in a rhythmic whisper that syncs with your breathing. Inhale, scratch. Exhale, pause. Each missive, a Stoic gem, urging you to live as if death's at the door, because it is, lurking like that awkward relative who overstays at family dinners. He amassed fortunes while writing about frugality, served a monster while touting virtue, his life a battlefield of ideals versus reality, making him relatable in that messy human way, like a wellness guru caught binging junk food at midnight. You smirk at the modern parallel. Imagine Seneca tweeting about minimalism from his private jet, hashtags and all number, Stoic struggles, anyone? Joke one slips in lightly. Why did Seneca avoid mirrors? Because even his reflection called him out on those contradictions. Talk about a reflective dilemma. An odd detail emerges amid the scrolls. Seneca suffered from severe asthma, his breaths often labored and wheezing, yet he turned it into a Stoic exercise, accepting pain as indifferent, practicing voluntary discomfort like cold plunges or simple meals to build resilience. Quirky proof that even philosophers hack their bodies like biohackers chasing the next trend. You feel his wheeze in the air, a faint rasp blending with the lamp's sputter, reminding you that Stoicism isn't about ignoring suffering but dancing with it, slow and steady, like a waltz in a storm. He admits his flaws openly. I am not a wise man, but a lover of wisdom, his self-rebuke, a quiet whisper in the room, pulling you closer, the sarcasm in his tone light but biting, poking fun at human frailty without cruelty. You shift slightly, the columns veining pressing into your back like a subtle massage, as Seneca's philosophy deepens the Roman embrace. his plays dripping with Stoic themes of fate and endurance, performed in theaters where the crowd's laughter echoes off stone walls scented with sweat and cheap perfume. He warns against desire's trap, comparing it to a fire that consumes without satisfying. Logos, the steady hand dousing the flames, call back to Chrysippus's lecton, now simplified for Roman ears. Meaning behind words, guiding actions, not whims. In Nero's court, it's survival. Navigate flattery, dodge plots, all while penning essays on anger's folly. His voice in your head, dropping to that sleepy cadence, each pause a breath of calm amid the palace intrigue, like a fan's hum drowning out distant thunder. Seneca's tension peaks as Nero's instability grows, his advisor role, a double-edged sword preach virtue to a vice machine, watch ideals bend under pressure, yet persist humbly, pursuing wisdom without claiming mastery. You feel the weight, the air, thickening with unspoken fears. But Seneca's sarcasm shines. Wealth is the slave of the wise man, the master of the fool. He quips, a jab at his own riches that lands with wry humor. Joke 2. What did Seneca say about Nero's parties? Indifferent until the wine turns to poison. You chuckle softly, the light-hearted edge easing the drama as the lamps flicker lower, shadows lengthening like doubts in his mind. By evening, the palace quiets, distant fountains trickling in a soothing rhythm that matches Seneca's pauses. His writings abridge from Greek origins to Roman grit, contradictions humanizing the philosophy flawed, striving, real. You linger, the incense fading to a whisper, feeling that inner pull towards self-mastery amid mess. Joke 3. Why was Seneca bad at hide-and-seek? His contradictions always gave him away. Virtue can't stay hidden long. The sarcasm floats gently, the narrative winding down in the dim light. Stoicism's Roman chapter, deepening with each conflicted breath. You're shuffling through the dusty back alleys of Hierapolis now, the sun dipping low over the Anatolian hills, like a weary traveler calling it a day, casting long golden shadows that stretch across the cracked earth and mingle with the faint, sulphurous steam rising from nearby hot springs, their mineral tang biting at your nostrils as if whispering ancient secrets of endurance and escape. The Roman Empire sprawls around you, that vast machine of marble and might you stepped into earlier, where Stoicism hardened from Greek whispers into Roman steel. Remember Seneca's palace intrigues, his quill scratching out virtue amid Nero's madness, contradictions coiling like smoke from those braziers? Well, now you're diving deeper into the life of Epictetus, a former slave whose chains couldn't bind his mind, his teachings a beacon of inner freedom that lights up the philosophy for everyone, not just the elite scribbling in silk-draped studies, but the everyday souls grinding through life's unyielding grip. You slip into a modest lecture hall, the air thick with the scent of olive wood benches worn smooth by countless listeners, their bodies' heat adding a humid closeness that makes you sink into your seat, eyelids fluttering as Epictetus hobbles in on his lame leg, his voice emerging in a gravelly, deliberate drawl, each word spaced like a slow breath pulling you into that ASMR trance where pauses feel like soft exhales against your ear. He's no pampered advisor like Seneca, born around 50 CE in this very city. Epictetus was enslaved as a child, dragged to Rome where his master, a cruel secretary to Emperor Domitian, twisted his leg in a fit of rage. Legend says he smiled through the pain, murmuring, You'll break it, proving pain's just a visitor, not the landlord of your soul. You lean forward, the bench creaking faintly under your weight. As he begins, his crutch thumping rhythmically against the stone floor, syncing with your pulse. Inhale thump, exhale wisdom. The canonical event crystallizes in the late 1st century CE, when Epictetus, freed from slavery and exiled by Domitian for his unflinching teachings, founds his own school in Nicopolis, Greece, drawing students from across the empire to his simple discourses. Preserved, not by his hand, he never wrote a word, but by his pupil Arrian, who compiled them into the Discourses and Enchiridion, marking Stoicism's democratization from elite circles to the masses, a quiet revolution in self-liberation. You imagine Arrian scribbling furiously in the corner, papyrus rustling like dry leaves in a breeze, capturing Epictetus's essence, as he declares, "It's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it that matters." His eyes scanning the room with a piercing calm that cuts through the humid air like a fresh gust. Historians still debate whether Epictetus's lameness was deliberate torture or an accident amplified by legend, a symbol of resilience or just bad luck twisted into myth. Did his master aim to break him, or was it Logos testing the unbreakable? Epictetus builds on Seneca's struggles, stripping Stoicism to its bare bones. No fancy rhetoric or courtly compromises, just raw truth for the chained and the free alike. True freedom, he murmurs, comes from within, not from emperors or gold. You feel the weight of his words settle over you like a warm blanket on a chilly evening, his voice dropping to a whisper during pauses, each one lingering like the echo of a distant bell, inviting you to breathe deeper. Let go of the externals that Seneca wrestled with so publicly. "You may chain my leg," he says, tapping his crutch for emphasis, the wood's hollow knock reverberating softly, but not even Zeus can conquer my mind. It's practical magic for life's prisons, whether iron bars or that dead-end job sucking your soul dry modern twist hits you. Imagine Epictetus scrolling LinkedIn, unfazed by rejection emails, muttering, "Indifferent next opportunities in my control." You smirk at the image, the sarcasm light but sharp, like a quick jab that doesn't bruise. An odd detail slips in amid his lecture. Epictetus owned nothing but a simple lamp, which a thief once stole, prompting him to quip he'd buy a cheaper one next time, since thieves prefer quality, quirky proof that even indifference, like possessions, are just props in the grand play, not the plot itself. You picture the thief, slinking away in the night, lamp flickering in his grasp, while Epictetus chuckles in the dark, his resilience shining brighter than any flame, a reminder that Logos, that cosmic blueprint from Zeno's porch, guides even the pettiest losses. He teaches life's hardships as training grounds, echoing Cleanthes' water-hauling endurance, but for the soul, focus on what's yours. Judgments, desires, aversions, and the rest, let it roll off like water from a duck's back. The hall's air grows heavier with the collective breathing of students, a soft symphony of inhales and exhales that lulls you further, the sulfur from outside seeping in like a grounding earthiness, tying you to this moment of quiet defiance. Epictetus's freedom isn't abstract, it's lived, his slavery a forge that tempered his wisdom, making Stoicism accessible, a lifeline for the overlooked. You call back to Chrysippus's logic. He hardened the system, but Epictetus humanizes it, applying lectin to everyday speech. Speak truthfully, act accordingly, no room for hypocrisy like Seneca's wealth woes. Demand not that events happen as you wish, he drawls, pausing long enough for the words to sink in like warm honey. But wish them to happen as they do, and you will go on well. It's the ultimate hack for inner peace, whether facing Roman tyrants or your inbox avalanche joke too. What did Epictetus say about traffic jams? The chariot's delay is indifferent. Your road rage is in your control. Breathe or be chained to honks. You chuckle inwardly, the light-hearted poke easing the philosophy's depth, sarcasm whispering like the steam outside. His teachings ripple out, preserved by Arian like echoes in a canyon, influencing future emperors and slaves alike. Stoicism now a universal balm for the bruised spirit. You feel your shoulders relax, the bench's wood warming to your form, as Epictetus raps a point, his crutch thumping one last time, the sound fading into silence that feels full, pregnant with possibility. Unusual quirk alert. Despite his poverty, Epictetus attracted wealthy students who tried gifting him luxuries, only for him to refuse with a wry smile. Turning beggary into a badge, did he crave simplicity, or was it Logos' subtle nudge toward authenticity? The debate lingers like the spring's mist, historians pondering if his refusal was pure principle or clever teaching tool. Epictetus embodies liberation, his lameness a metaphor for unbound minds. Stoicism's flame passed from Seneca's conflicted court to this humble hall, burning brighter in adversity. You breathe slower, the air's mineral bite softening, eyelids drooping as his voice murmurs on. Freedom is the name of virtue, each word a gentle nudge toward that inner citadel, unassailable, eternal. Joke 3. Why was Epictetus the worst party guest? He kept saying the wine was indifferent. Talk about killing the buzz with wisdom. The sarcasm floats gently, the narrative easing into quiet reflection. Epictetus freedom, seeping into you like twilight's calm, ready for the next imperial test. You're trudging along the muddy banks of the Danube now, the chill wind whipping through the Roman frontier camps like an unwelcome guest who won't take the hint, carrying the sharp scent of pine resin from the surrounding forests, mixed with the acrid smoke of legionary fires crackling in the distance, their embers glowing like defiant stars against the encroaching dusk that settles over you with a heavy, almost tangible weight, making your bones ache just a little, as if reminding you of the empire's endless burdens. The Germanic tribes lurk beyond the tree line, their war cries faint echoes on the breeze, a stark contrast to the quiet halls where Epictetus preached inner freedom from his crutch-propped perch. Remember his unbreakable spirit, smiling through twisted limbs, turning chains into choices? Well, here on the edge of the known world, Stoicism faces its ultimate test in the hands of Marcus Aurelius, emperor, warrior, and the most unlikely philosopher-king. His reign a battlefield where logos clashes with legions, virtue grapples with viruses, and one man's private jottings become a timeless manual for staying sane amid the slaughter. You huddle by a campfire, the flames licking at damp logs with a soft hiss that syncs with your breathing. Inhale crackle, exhale flicker, the heat warming your face while the cold nips at your back, pulling you into that rhythmic lull where Marcus scribbles in his tent nearby, his quill scratching faintly against parchment like a distant whisper, each stroke a deliberate pause in the chaos of command. Crowned co-emperor in 161 CE, alongside Lucius Verus, Marcus's rule plunges straight into crisis plagues, ravage the ranks, brought back by troops from the east, bodies piling up like forgotten debts, while barbarian hordes push at the borders forcing him to spend years on these forsaken fronts, far from Rome's marble comforts. You watch him rise before dawn, his breath fogging in the crisp air scented with horse sweat and leather polish, reviewing dispatches by lamplight that smells of cheap oil, his face etched with lines deeper than any battle scar, yet his demeanor steady, echoing Epictetus's unchained mind, but scaled to an empire's scope. The canonical event unfolds in the 172nd CE as Marcus composes his meditations during the Marcomannic Wars. Private reflections never meant for publication, scribbled in Greek amid tent flaps and trumpet calls, marking Stoicism's pinnacle as a lived philosophy under siege. His words, a quiet anchor in the storm of ruling a crumbling colossus. You imagine him pausing mid-sentence. The quill hovering as a scout bursts in with news of another raid. Yet he resumes, murmuring to himself, "Begin each day by telling yourself, today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. Not pessimism, but preparation, logos, as a shield forged from Zeno's porch sparks, and hardened by Chrysippus's logic." Historians still debate whether Marcus truly embodied Stoic ideals, or if his meditations reveal a man tormented by doubts. His humane policies, like freeing slaves or promoting education, clashing with the brutal necessities of war. Was he a sage on the throne, or just a reluctant butcher in purple robes? Marcus's writings aren't grand proclamations. They're intimate reminders, his voice in your head a soft, measured drawl, each pause letting the words settle like snow on a quiet field, inviting you to breathe slower, eyelids drooping as he reminds himself, and you, that death could come tomorrow, so act with purpose now, not anxiety. You feel the mud squelch under your boots as you pace with him along the camp's perimeter, the distant howls of wolves blending with soldiers' snores, a sensory symphony of unease that he transforms into training. Plagues decimate legions, his co-emperor dies early, generals betray him, and his son Commodus looms as a future tyrant. Yet Marcus rejects opulence, indulging rarely in cruelty, returning always to reason's compass. It's like upgrading from Epictetus's lamplit freedom to imperial-scale ruling millions while mastering the self, logos the thread weaving through betrayals and borders. An odd detail flickers in the firelight. Marcus reportedly auctioned off imperial treasures, including his wife's golden jewelry and silk gowns, to fund the wars instead of raising taxes, a quirky act of frugality that turned palace bling into battlefield rations, proving even emperors can downsize when logos demands it. Imagine a yard sale at the Forum, one emperor's gently used throne, slightly haunted by decisions. You chuckle softly, the sarcasm light as the sparks popping from the logs, easing the weight of his world where every choice echoes across continents. He visualizes hardships daily, much like those Roman Stoics, premeditating malorum, but amplified, expecting betrayal at breakfast, plagued by lunch, turning paranoia into poise. His meditations, a mental gym for the soul, reps of reflection amid the rain-lashed tents. You sink deeper into the campfire's glow, the wood's smoky aroma wrapping around you like a familiar scarf. Marcus's philosophy, proving Stoicism isn't for hermits or slaves alone, it's for the pinnacle of power, carrying peace into chaos. His reminders whispered like ASMR secrets. You could die today, so live virtuously now. Call back to Seneca's courtly wrestling. Marcus lives what his advisor preached. contradictions minimized in the mud, virtue the only crown that doesn't tarnish. Modern joke hits. Imagine Marcus on a podcast, Emperor's New Groove, How I Meditate Through Mutinies, sponsored by Logos, energy drinks. Stay rational, stay hydrated. The lighthearted jab lands gently, sarcasm blending with the night's hush as wolves howl again, a reminder of the wild beyond his control. Marcus's reign crumbles at the edges, Germanic pressures, internal rot. Yet he anchors in inner life, obsessed with reason over rage. His meditations later compiled from those frontier scraps, unintended legacy influencing millennia. You feel your breath slow, sinking with the fire's dying embers, each pop a pause in his eternal dialogue. Act kindly in cruelty, stay grounded in grandeur. Joke 2. Why did Marcus avoid imperial parties? Too many indifferents crashing the virtue vibe, plus the wine always turned to vinegar under Logos' gaze. You grin inwardly, the day fading into starlit quiet, his wisdom a lantern against the dark, proving power's true test is self-rule. As night deepens, the camp quiets, distant sentries' footsteps crunching on gravel like a lullaby's beat. Marcus retiring to his tent with a final scribble, his philosophy visible proof, Stoicism for anyone. Even the world's mightiest, navigating wreckage with grace. Joke 3. What's an emperor's favorite Stoic exercise? Premeditating the fall of Rome, one downfall at a time. The sarcasm whispers softly, the narrative easing into stillness. Marcus's meditations, a steady pulse, carrying you forward through the empire's twilight. You're gazing out over the windswept plains of the Roman frontier now, the campfire's embers from Marcus's meditations dying to a faint glow under your boots as you kick at the ashes, the acrid smoke lingering in your nostrils like a stubborn farewell, mingling with the damp earth scent rising from the ground after a brief rain that leaves everything slick and glistening under a moonless sky, the distant rumble of thunder fading like an empire's last gasp. The legions pack up their tents with muffled clanks of metal on metal, a rhythmic thud that echoes Epictetus's crutch from simpler halls. But here, it's laced with exhaustion, soldiers' breaths heavy in the chill air that nips at your exposed skin, making you pull your cloak tighter, as if to ward off not just the cold, but the creeping sense of an era unraveling at the seams. Marcus Aurelius draws his final breath in 180 CE, his body laid out in a command tent scented with medicinal herbs and incense, the plague that haunted his wars, claiming him at last, leaving the throne to his son Commodus, a man whose name alone whispers warnings of indulgence over introspection, virtue traded for vanity, like a bad deal at a frontier market stall. You wander through the emptying camp, the mud sucking at your sandals with each step, a squelch that punctuates the quiet, as Commodus's shadow looms larger, his reign kicking off with a theatrical flair that would make even Seneca's plays blush gladiatorial games, where he struts as Hercules, club in hand, while the Senate simmers with disdain, his excesses turning the palace into a circus of silk and scandals, far from Marcus's Stoic scribbles. The canonical event strikes in 192 CE, when Commodus is strangled in his bath by a wrestler hired by conspirators, his death igniting a chain of civil wars that fracture the empire, marking the beginning of Stoicism's decline as a dominant force. The philosophy retreating from public life as Christianity surges, its promises of grace and redemption overshadowing self-mastery in a world weary of endless strife. You pause by a abandoned supply wagon, the wood creaking faintly in the wind like a sigh, feeling the shift in the air from Marcus's anchored calm to a vacuum where indulgence fills the void. Logos dimmed by the glare of golden laurels and unchecked ego. Historians still debate whether Commodus's tyranny was inevitable, a product of Marcus's blind paternal hope, or the empire's systemic rot, his father's meditations, perhaps too focused inward to spot the monster brewing at home. Did Marcus fail as a Stoic by not preempting the downfall, or was it Logos weaving a necessary unraveling? Either way, you're caught in the unraveling, the philosophy that once armored emperors, now fading like the campfire's last sparks, as Christianity spreads its wings, becoming state religion under Constantine in the 4th century. Its theology of divine will and salvation, replacing Stoic acceptance with prayers and promises, the old schools closing one by one, their porches silenced by edicts and evolving faiths. You breathe in the night air, crisp and laced with the faint rot of fallen leaves underfoot, a sensory reminder of cycles turning as Stoicism slips into the background, admired but incomplete in the eyes of church fathers like Augustine, who nods to its moral rigor, while critiquing its prideful self-reliance. No more porch debates in the agora, just whispers in monastic cells where silence reigns supreme. The flame flickers lower, but it doesn't snuff out entirely. You trace its quiet migration, Stoicism's ideas seeping into Christian thought like ink bleeding through parchment. Early theologians borrowing its discipline for their aesthetics, silence and simplicity echoing Cleanthes's water-hauling grit, denial of luxury a nod to Epictetus's bare lamp existence. You lean against the wagon's wheel, the rough grain pressing into your palm like a tactile anchor, as the philosophy endures in margins, scribes copying Seneca's letters alongside scripture, monastic vows mirroring Stoic vows of endurance, the soul's inner citadel, now guarded by crosses instead of logic's blade. It's a subtle survival, stronger than outright success. Those seeds buried deep in Western soil, waiting for intellectual winds to shift, from Renaissance rediscoveries to Enlightenment echoes, but for now, it's retreat, the empire's excesses and new faiths pushing it aside like an outdated chariot in a world racing toward redemption over reason. An odd detail surfaces amid the camp's remnants. Commodus reportedly kept a pet giraffe, parading it through Rome as a symbol of his exotic power, a quirky extravagance that clashed wildly with Stoic indifference, the beast's long neck craning over crowds, while philosophers shook their heads. Imagine the upkeep, hay bills rivaling border defenses, all for a neck that stretched further than his father's wisdom ever could. You chuckle softly at the absurdity, the wind carrying your laugh into the dark like a fleeting spark, sarcasm bubbling up. What did the Stoics say about Commodus's giraffe? Indifferent until it steps on your virtue. The joke lands light, easing the melancholy as you ponder the decline. Christianity's rise, not a direct clash, but a gentle eclipse. Its grace-filling voids, left by endless wars and weary souls. Stoic self-reliance, seeming pagan, admirable, yet lacking the warmth of forgiveness. You sink deeper into the night's embrace, the ground cooling beneath you as you sit against the wagon, the distant hot spring steam wafting over like a ghostly veil, their warmth a tease against the chill that seeps into your bones, mirroring Stoicism's quiet persistence amid fading glory. The philosophy doesn't die with Marcus. It migrates, monastic traditions adopting its examination of conscience, daily reflections akin to Marcus's meditations, but now laced with prayer, silence a shared virtue where words once flowed on painted porches. Call back to Zeno's shipwreck. That storm birthed resilience. But here, the tempests are internal. Faith's waves washing over reason's shores, blending rather than battling. Church fathers like Jerome praising celibacy in Stoic tones, while condemning desire's weakness. Its evolution in retreat, the flame dimmed but enduring, ready to flicker back when the world craves clarity anew. The camp fully quiets now, only the occasional hoot of an owl breaking the hush, its call a lonely echo that makes your eyelids droop heavier, the air's dampness settling like a soft blanket over everything, blurring the edges of decline into something almost peaceful. Stoicism's ideas persist in the undercurrents, monastic denial of worldly pleasures, a direct heir to indifference. Augustine's Confessions, wrestling inner demons with Epictetus-like resolve, the philosophy a whisper in the wind, kept alive by those who seek strength without illusion. Joke 2. Why did Stoicism hide during Christianity's rise? It was playing hard to get indifferent to the spotlight, but always there for a comeback. You grin faintly, the sarcasm a gentle nudge against the night's weight. As debates linger, was the decline due to Christianity's emotional appeal or Rome's exhaustion? Self-mastery too, austere, for a populace craving hope beyond the grave? As dawn hints on the horizon, a pale streak against the black, you rise slowly, legs numb from the cold ground, the mud flaking off your sandals like shed skin. The philosophy's decline a pivot rather than an end, its essence woven into the fabric of thought, waiting for rediscovery. Joke 3. What do you call a fading Stoic in a rising church? A pray-meditator virtue meets Vespers, no indifference allowed. The light-hearted quip fades with the stars, the narrative easing into morning's quiet promise. Stoicism's decline, a necessary dusk before new dawns. You're wandering the echoing corridors of a medieval monastery now, the stone walls cool and damp against your fingertips as you trace the rough-hewn blocks, their chill seeping through like a forgotten whisper from the past, the air thick with the scent of beeswax candles flickering in iron sconces, and the faint mustiness of ancient manuscripts stacked on wooden shelves that creak softly under their weight, each grown a subtle reminder of time's relentless march. The empire's grandeur has crumbled into ruins overgrown with ivy. Those frontier camps where Marcus scribbled his meditations now silent, except for the wind howling through cracked aqueducts. But Stoicism hasn't vanished, it's morphed, slipping into the shadows of Christianity like a quiet guest at a feast, influencing monks and scholars who seek solace in silence amid the chaos of feudal wars and plague-ridden villages. Their hooded robes brushing the flagstones with a hush that pulls you deeper into this contemplative world, eyelids growing heavy as the candlelight dances in lazy patterns on the vaulted ceilings overhead. You settle onto a hard wooden bench in the scriptorium, the seat worn smooth by generations of scribes hunched over their work, the faint scratch of quills on vellum creating a rhythmic ASMR lull that syncs with your breathing. Inhale dip, exhale flourish, as you leaf through yellowed pages where Stoic ideas blend seamlessly with Christian doctrine. Logos, reimagined as the divine word of God. Virtue, now intertwined with grace in a tapestry of thought that spans centuries. The canonical event whispers through these halls in the 4th century CE, when Augustine of Hippo pens his Confessions, weaving Stoic self-examination into his spiritual autobiography, his introspective style echoing Marcus's meditations, but filtered through a lens of redemption, marking a pivotal fusion where pagan resilience meets Christian humility, the text becoming a cornerstone for medieval theology that shapes monastic life across Europe. You feel the parchment's texture under your fingers, slightly brittle and scented with the ink of oak galls, a tactile link to Augustine's own hand trembling with revelation, his words urging souls to turn inward, much like Epictetus's unchained mind, but now seeking not just control, but communion with the divine. Historians still debate whether this blending was a deliberate appropriation, church fathers like Augustine cherry-picking Stoic tools to bolster their faith against lingering pagan influences, or if it was an organic evolution, logos naturally aligning with the Christian logos of John's Gospel. A cosmic reason reborn in Scripture, did they co-opt resilience to combat despair in dark ages, or was it logos guiding the synthesis all along? Either way, you're immersed in the quiet persistence. Monks rising before dawn for matins, their chants rising in harmonious waves that wash over you like a gentle tide, the air cooling as night deepens outside the narrow windows, stars peeking through like indifferent witnesses to humanity's struggles. Stoicism's echoes resonate in their vows: poverty, mirroring indifference, obedience testing, self-mastery, chastity denying desires that Seneca warned against turning Zeno's porch into cloistered cells where silence isn't empty, but filled with reflection. The philosophy surviving not as a banner, but a subtle undercurrent sustaining souls through invasions and inquisitions. You trail a finger along a illuminated manuscript, the gold leaf catching the candle's glow with a warm shimmer that contrasts the room's stark simplicity, the scent of fresh vellum mingling with the herbal tang of incense, wafting from the chapel nearby, grounding you in this era where knights clash swords in distant fields, while here minds wage quieter wars against temptation. An odd detail catches your eye in the margins. Some monks annotated Stoic texts with doodles of fantastical beasts, like dragons coiled around Epictetus's quotes, quirky symbols, perhaps warding off doubts, or just bored scribes, adding whimsy to wisdom. Imagine a solemn brother sketching a fire-breathing worm next to bear and forbear, turning endurance into an illustrated adventure, a light touch in lives of austerity. It's these small human flourishes that make the fusion feel alive. Stoicism's discipline bolstering monastic rules, like Benedict's 6th century order emphasizing labor and prayer, Cleanthes' water-hauling grit, reborn in garden toil, under vows of stability, the repetitive hoeing, a meditation on acceptance, logos in the soil's yield. The monastery's rhythm pulls you along, Vespers bells tolling softly in the distance, like a heartbeat slowing for sleep. Each peal spaced with pauses that let the silence deepen, inviting you to exhale longer, shoulders dropping as the day's tensions unwind in this haven of echoes. Christian thinkers admired Stoic moral seriousness. Jerome praising celibacy in terms that could have come from Seneca's letters. Desire a weakness to be tamed, not indulged, while Boethius, in the 6th century, consoles himself in prison with philosophy's comforts, his consolation blending Platonic and Stoic threads into a Christian framework, fortune's wheel, an indifferent turning under divine providence, a bridge from Marcus's frontier reflections to medieval solace amid executions and exiles. You call back to Chrysippus's logic, his syllogisms, sharpened debates in scholastic halls, But now, they're tools for dissecting sin, reason serving faith in a dance where self-reliance bows to grace. The philosophy's pride critiqued, yet its practices embraced, like daily examinations of conscience mirroring Epictetus's inner dialogues, but ending in confession, not just resolve. You rise slowly from the bench, legs tingling from the prolonged sit, the stone floor's cold seeping up through your soles as you pace the corridor, the air stirring with a draft that carries hints of baking bread from the refectory, a simple meal awaiting after compline, frugality, a Stoic virtue cloaked in humility. Monks navigate their own shipwrecks, lost harvests, Viking raids with acceptance, logos as God's plan, indifference to worldly loss, a path to heavenly gain, the fusion, creating resilient communities that preserve knowledge through dark times, copying Seneca alongside saints, their scriptorial lighthouses in intellectual night. Modern joke flickers in your mind like the candles. Imagine a monk DMing Augustine on medieval Twitter, loving your confessions, Stoicism 2.0 with Jesus DLC. The sarcasm lands light, a wink across ages, as you ponder the quiet influence. Stoicism, not extinguished, but absorbed, its flame-warming cloisters, where peace prevails over power. The bells toll again, softer now, their resonance fading into the night's embrace. The monastery's stones holding centuries of whispered wisdom, Stoicism's echoes a steady underbeat in chants that lull you further, breaths deepening as the sensory hush envelops you. Joke 2. Why did the Stoic monk refuse extra bread? It was indifferent plus gluttony's a vice, not a vibe. You grin faintly, the light-hearted poke blending with the serene rhythm, sarcasm, a gentle ripple in the calm pool of contemplation. Historians debating if this monastic adoption diluted Stoicism's rigor or preserved its essence, self-mastery, now a step towards sanctity, logos divine rather than cosmic. As midnight nears, the corridor quiets completely, only the occasional drip from a leaky roof punctuating the silence like a final pause, the air cooling to a sleepy chill that makes you yearn for a woolen blanket. Stoicism's medieval echoes a bridge to future revivals, its quiet influence sustaining through scribes' patient hands. Joke 3. What do you call a debating monk with Stoic roots? A logo bro, all reason, no drama, just divine deductions. The quip whispers away, the narrative easing into deeper stillness, the philosophy's persistence, a comforting thread in the tapestry of time, ready for rediscovery when the world awakens anew. You're leafing through the dusty tomes of a Renaissance library now, the air heavy with the rich, leathery scent of aged vellum and the faint, woody aroma of oak shelves, groaning under the weight of rediscovered scrolls, sunlight slanting through leaded glass windows in golden shafts that dance lazily across the floor like forgotten sunbeams, chasing shadows, warming your fingertips as you trace the embossed spines, each touch sending a subtle shiver up your arm, as if the past itself is stirring awake after a long, dreamless nap. The medieval monastery's quiet echoes, those candlelit cells where Stoicism hid in monastic margins like a secret ingredient in a monk's stew, are giving way to a brighter buzz, scholars in velvet doublets bustling about with excited murmurs that blend into a soft hum, their quills scratching parchment in rhythmic pauses that lull you deeper. Inhale, flourish. Exhale, whisper, as the world awakens from its dark slumber. Ancient texts pulled from oblivion like treasures from a shipwreck. Zeno's watery origins, rippling forward once more. Logos, resurfacing in an era hungry for reason amid the glitter of rediscovery. You settle into a high back chair, the carved wood creaking faintly under your weight like an old friend sighing in recognition. The cushion's faded brocade soft against your back as you watch Petrarch, the father of humanism, pore over a newly unearthed copy of Cicero's letters in the 14th century, his eyes widening in the dim light as Stoic fragments leap from the page, igniting a spark that spreads like wildfire through Italy's intellectual circles. Scholars trading manuscripts like modern book clubs swapping thrillers, but with more Latin and less latte. The canonical event ignites in 1417 when Poggio Bracciolini uncovers a complete manuscript of Lucretius de Rerum Natura in a German monastery, a text laced with Epicurean echoes, but carrying Stoic undertones that flood back into circulation, marking the Renaissance revival's explosive start as ancient philosophies flood the market, printers like Aldus Manutius churning out affordable editions in the 15th century that make Seneca's essays as accessible as today's paperbacks, fueling a rebirth where humanism marries classical wisdom to challenge medieval dogma. Logos, reborn as a tool for personal excellence in a world of patronage and plague. Historians still debate whether this revival was a deliberate humanist rebellion against scholastic rigidity. Scholars like Erasmus cherry-picking Stoic self-mastery to craft a more worldly Christianity, or if it was sheer luck, dusty libraries yielding treasures by chance amid the fall of Constantinople in 1453 that sent Greek texts fleeing westward. Did they seek Stoicism to empower the individual, or was it Logos' subtle hand guiding the rediscovery? Either way, you're right in the thick of it. The library's hush broken only by the occasional page turn, a soft rustle like leaves in a gentle breeze that invites you to lean back, eyelids fluttering as the ideas unfold. Stoicism emerging not as dusty relic, but vibrant guide, its indifference to fortune, a balm for merchants navigating the Medici's cutthroat banking world, virtue a compass in courts, where flattery could kill quicker than a dagger. You flip open a volume of Montaigne's essays from the late 16th century, the ink still fresh in your imagination, its pages scented with the faint herbal tang of the printing press, his words weaving Stoic threads into personal reflection, musing on death and desire, with a sarcasm that mirrors your own inner quips, like wondering why chase glory when it's as fleeting as a bad haircut in a windstorm. The revival isn't just academic, it's personal. Artists like Michelangelo channeling Stoic endurance into marble, hammering away at David with a resilience that echoes Cleanthes' boxer grit. Each chisel strike a meditation on human potential amid the Vatican's opulent chaos. Logos, the unseen force, shaping the Renaissance man polymaths, like Leonardo da Vinci, jotting notes on anatomy and flight, indifferent to failure as long as reason guides the pen. You feel the chair's arms under your palms, smooth from years of scholarly grips, the light shifting to a warmer amber as afternoon wanes, pulling you into a drowsy rhythm where pauses in reading let the philosophy sink in. Stoicism's quiet strength fueling explorations from Galileo, peering through telescopes to explorers sailing uncharted seas, accepting storms as indifference on the path to discovery. An odd detail catches your eye in a marginal note. Some Renaissance scholars collected Stoic relics, like purported fragments of Zeno's walking stick or Epictetus's crutch, quirky talismans displayed in curiosity cabinets alongside narwhal horns. mistaken for unicorn tusks, as if owning a piece of the porch could imbue one with logos magic. Imagine a Florentine banker waving a fake crutch at a rival, shouting, "Endure this," in a fit of philosophical flair. It's these eccentric touches that humanize the revival. Stoicism not confined to tomes, but lived, influencing politics, as Machiavelli blends its pragmatism with cunning in The Prince, virtue twisted into statecraft, where indifference to morality secures power. A sarcastic nod to Seneca's courtly compromises, now amplified in the age of intrigue, where popes and princes play chess with lives, yet turn to Marcus's meditations for bedtime reading, seeking calm amid the cannon fire of emerging nation-states. You lean forward slightly, the bench no, chair shifting with a soft creak that echoes in the vast room, the air stirring with a draft from an open casement, carrying hints of blooming roses from the cloister garden outside. A floral sweetness that contrasts the intellectual ferment as Stoicism's influence seeps into education, Jesuit schools adopting its discipline for rigorous training, logos aligned with Ignatian spirituality in exercises that mirror negative visualization, preparing souls for trials with a blend of ancient reason and new faith. The revival bridges medieval echoes to modern stirrings. Erasmus praising Seneca in letters that smell of sealing wax. His humanism urging a return to sources where Stoic ethics temper religious zeal. Indifference, a shield against the Inquisition's flames. Scholars debating in salons lit by tallow candles, whose wax drips like slow tears, pausing mid-sentence to let ideas breathe, much like this narrative's sleepy cadence, inviting you to exhale longer, sink deeper into the revival's embrace. Stoicism reemerges fully armored, its texts printed en masse by Gutenberg's heirs, spreading from Italy to Northern Europe, where figures like Justus Lipsius in the late 16th century pen on constancy, applying Marcus's frontier fortitude to the Dutch revolt's turmoil. Logos, a bulwark against war's indifference. His words a sarcastic quip at fate's whims, like joking that fortune's wheel spins faster than a courtier's tongue. You feel the page turn under your hand, the vellum's slight crinkle, a tactile whisper, the library's hush deepening as scholars depart for vespers, leaving you in golden solitude where Stoicism's revival feels personal, a toolkit for navigating the Renaissance's brilliance and brutality, from plague pits to painted masterpieces, endurance, the thread weaving through it all. The light fades to a soft glow, candles sputtering with pauses that let shadows lengthen like thoughtful silences. Stoicism's quiet resurgence, a testament to its timeless pull. Scholars rediscovering not just texts, but a way to stand tall amid rebirth's chaos. Logos, the steady pulse beneath the era's heartbeat. Joke 1. Why did the Renaissance scholar hoard Stoic scrolls? Because in a world of Michelangelos, he wanted to chisel his own inner statue, talk about self-sculpting with sarcasm. You smile faintly, the quip floating light as the draft, blending with the serene rhythm as debates persist. Was the revival fueled by fleeing Byzantine scholars, or homegrown curiosity, a spark from the east, or embers from monastic fires? You close the tome gently, the thud muffled in the quiet space, the air cooling with evening's approach, carrying a chill that makes you shiver just enough to appreciate the warmth of rediscovered wisdom. Stoicism, bridging ancient porches to printing presses, its influence rippling outward like ink on fresh paper. Joke 2. What do you call a Stoic in a Renaissance painting? The guy in the background, indifferent to all the drama perspectives, got nothing on logos. The sarcasm whispers gently, the narrative easing forward, the revival's energy, a gentle current carrying you through history's pages. As night settles outside, the windows darkening to mirrors, reflecting candle flames like stars in a scholarly sky, Stoicism's medieval whispers amplify into a chorus, ready for further echoes in distant eras, its enduring appeal, a quiet anchor in the flux of rediscovery. Joke 3. Why didn't Stoicism need a makeover during the Renaissance? It was already classically handsome, timeless virtue, never goes out of style, unlike those puffy sleeves. The light-hearted jab fades with the light, leaving you in contemplative hush. The libraries embrace a portal to the philosophy's next chapters. You're scrolling through your phone in a dimly lit coffee shop now, the aroma of freshly ground beans wrapping around you like a cozy fog, steam rising from your mug in lazy curls that carry hints of caramel and vanilla, warming your hands as the rain patters softly against the window panes, each drop a gentle tap that syncs with the low hum of indie folk music playing overhead, pulling you into this modern moment where ancient wisdom feels as fresh as your latte. The Renaissance library's golden glow, those velvet-clad scholars rediscovering scrolls like buried treasure from monastic vaults, fades into the digital age, Stoicism leaping from printed pages to pixels and podcasts. Its comeback, a quiet revolution in a world buzzing with notifications and noise, where Zeno's shipwreck philosophy washes up on apps and algorithms, offering anchors for souls, adrift in endless scrolls and stress. You sip slowly, the hot liquid sliding down with a soothing warmth that eases the day's tensions, eyelids fluttering as you dive into this 21st century revival, where logos isn't confined to porches or palaces, but streams straight to your earbuds, turning commutes into classrooms and bedtimes into breakthroughs. You swipe open a bestseller list on your screen, the glow casting a soft blue hue on your face, like moonlight in Marcus's frontier tent. And there it is, Ryan Holiday's The Obstacle is the Way, published in 2014, channeling Marcus Aurelius's meditations into a toolkit for entrepreneurs and athletes, its pages flipping digitally as you imagine Holiday typing away in a sunlit study, scented with fresh ink and ambition, the book igniting Stoicism's mainstream surge by framing ancient hurdles as modern opportunities, a canonical event that catapults the philosophy from academic shelves to self-help aisles, selling millions and spawning sequels like Ego is the Enemy, where virtue battles vanity in boardrooms and gyms alike. You lean back in your chair, the worn leather creaking faintly like an old scroll unrolling, feeling the revival's pulse in every chapter, logos redefined for the hustle culture, indifference to setbacks, a superpower in a gig economy that chews up dreamers and spits out side hustlers. Historians still debate whether this modern Stoicism dilutes the original Zeno's cosmic blueprint turned into productivity hacks, or faithfully adapts them, Epictetus's inner freedom repackaged for TED Talks, a evolution sparked by digital accessibility, or just clever marketing in an anxious age. The rain picks up outside, drumming a sleepy rhythm on the glass that makes you blink slower, breaths deepening as you pop in your earbuds, Tim Ferriss' podcast voice murmuring through the speakers with that laid-back drawl, interviewing Naval Ravikant on Stoic principles for high-performance living, their conversation flowing like a gentle stream over Cleanthes's boxer endurance, but now applied to biohacking and blockchain. Indifference to market crashes, a mantra for crypto traders staring at red charts. You chuckle at the irony, ancient Greeks dodging fate's punches, modern moguls dodging margin calls, all under Logos' steady gaze. The episode's pauses, letting insights land like soft exhales, pulling you into an ASMR trance, where wisdom whispers amid the cafe's ambient clatter of cups and keyboards. Podcasts like The Daily Stoic drop episodes daily, bite-sized reflections on Seneca's letters remixed for your morning routine, turning commutes into contemplative drives, the host's voice dropping to a husky murmur during quotes. Each pause a breath, inviting you to reflect on your own indifference, like that email from your boss that could have ruined your day, but now just rolls off, thanks to premeditatio malorum practiced over traffic jams. You glance around the shop, steam from espressos fogging the windows like a veil over the bustling street outside. People huddled under umbrellas that bob like indifferent ships in Zeno's storm, and spot a barista with a tattoo of Marcus's quote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts," inked on her forearm. An odd detail in this revival where Stoicism inks skin as much as souls. From minimalist wristbands saying amor fati to full sleeves depicting the Stoa Poikila's murals, quirky body art turning philosophy into permanent reminders, like wearing Epictetus's crutch as a charm against life's lameness. It's everywhere. This comeback, apps like Stoic journaling your daily virtues, tracking moods with Chrysippus's logic in mind, notifications pinging. What would Seneca do? During stressful meetings, turning ancient discipline into digital dopamine hits, sarcasm bubbling up as you think of Zeno logging his shipwreck in a gratitude journal. Day 1, lost everything. Grateful for the lesson. Number, Stoic vibes. Joke 1 slips in with a wry grin. Why did the modern Stoic delete his social media? Too many indifference. Liking his ego logos doesn't need filters. The cafe's playlist shifts to something softer. Acoustic strings plucking in a sleepy cadence that makes your shoulders drop. Breaths syncing with the melody as you explore further. Pierre Hadot's philosophy as a way of life from 1995, laying the groundwork by arguing Stoicism was meant to be practiced, not just pondered, his scholarly voice echoing in audiobooks that frame it as spiritual exercise, influencing the surge where therapy borrows from it, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, channeling Epictetus's dichotomy of control to reframe anxieties, therapists prescribing negative visualization like monks once did matins, turning ancient indifference into tools for PTSD or procrastination. You feel the warmth of your mug fading, the coffee's bitterness, a gentle nudge to accept the cooling as indifferent, much like accepting algorithm-driven lives where likes measure worth. But Stoicism whispers otherwise. Podcasts like The Stoic Coffee Break, brewing short episodes on applying logos to relationships. Sarcasm lacing the host's tips. Dump the drama, embrace the dharma, or whatever. It's all indifferent anyway. It's this blend of ancient austerity with modern accessibility that fuels the revival. Books like Massimo Pigliucci's How to Be a Stoic in 2017 bridging academia and apps, his Italian accent in interviews adding a flavorful twist to discussions on virtue in the age of AI. You stretch slightly, the chairs creak blending with the rain's patter outside, a sensory symphony that lulls you further, as influencers on YouTube dissect Marcus for Motivation Mondays, their voices dropping to ASMR, whispers during readings, pauses letting quotes sink in like rain into soil, turning Stoicism into a lifestyle brand with journals, merch, even Stoic-themed teas chamomile for calm indifference naturally. The comeback peaks in the 2022 with global lockdowns, people turning to apps like Calm, narrating Seneca for sleep stories, logos a lifeline in isolation, unusual quirk emerging in online communities where Stoic challenges go viral, like 30 days of cold showers echoing Roman baths, but without the gossip, participants posting progress with hashtags that would make Chrysippus roll in his grave or laugh, depending on the logic. Joke 2. What did the Stoics say about Zoom fatigue? Indifferent, the mute buttons in your control, not the endless small talk. You smirk, the sarcasm light as the foam on your latte, blending with the cafe's cozy haze where modern Stoicism thrives. Debates raging on Reddit threads. Is it watered down wisdom for productivity bros? Or genuine adaptation for mental health in a chaotic world? The rain eases to a drizzle, the window's condensation blurring the outside world like a soft filter on reality. Your mug now cool in your hands as you reflect on this resurgence. Stoicism's timeless tools repackaged for podcasts that play in gyms and bedrooms. Ferris quoting Epictetus to millions. Ravikant tweeting logos in 280 characters. The philosophy's 21st century glow-up, turning ancient endurance into everyday armor against FOMO and fallout. You breathe deeper, the air's coffee-scented warmth inviting a final pause, eyelids heavy as the day's end nears. This exploration, a bridge from Renaissance rediscovery to right now, where Stoicism podcasts lull you to sleep with whispers of virtue, ready for practical applications in your own chaotic life. Joke 3. Why does modern Stoicism love podcasts? Because even logos needs earbuds to block out the indifference like that neighbor's lawnmower at dawn. You're sinking into your favorite armchair at home now, the plush cushions molding to your body like they've been waiting all day for this moment. The faint scent of lavender from a nearby diffuser mingling with the earthy aroma of rain-soaked soil drifting in through the cracked window, where droplets trace lazy paths down the glass, each one pausing before, sliding further, mirroring the deliberate rhythm of your breaths as you let the day's chaos fade into a soft blur. The lamp beside you casts a warm amber glow that dances gently across the walls, turning shadows into soothing companions, and you feel that familiar pull toward introspection. Stoicism's modern revival from those podcast whispers and self-help shelves, now inviting you to not just read about it, but live it, applying ancient techniques to your everyday grind, like upgrading your mental software from beta to bulletproof. Remember Epictetus smiling through his twisted leg, turning pain into proof of inner freedom? Well, here in your cozy nook, with the rain's patter providing a natural ASMR backdrop, you're about to dive into Stoic practices that bridge Zeno's porch to your planner, turning abstract logos into actionable habits that keep you steady when life throws curveballs, like that unexpected bill or the coworker who borrows your ideas without credit. You start with negative visualization, that classic Stoic trick Seneca honed in his letters, imagining worst-case scenarios, not to spiral into doom scrolling, but to build gratitude for what you have, like picturing your cozy chair, vanishing in a freak-moving mishap while you sip your tea, the steam rising in wispy tendrils that tickle your nose with chamomile notes, making the present feel richer, more solid, under your fingertips. It's premeditatio malorum, a practice Marcus Aurelius scribbled about on those muddy frontiers, expecting betrayal at breakfast to armor his day. Apply it now, envisioning your phone dying mid-important call, the screen going black like a dramatic curtain drop, and suddenly you're thankful for the backup charger gathering dust in your drawer. A simple shift that turns anxiety into appreciation, logos whispering that most fears are phantoms, not facts. You pause, letting the rain's steady drum fill the silence, each drop a breath deeper, eyelids heavier as you visualize traffic snarls on your commute, cars honking like impatient geese, and feel the calm settle in, knowing you've mentally rehearsed the jam without the actual jam session. Historians still debate whether this technique stemmed from Cynic influences on Zeno or evolved purely in Stoic circles as a counter to Epicurean pleasure-seeking, a proactive mental gym, or just borrowed armor from earlier thinkers. Did it empower emperors like Marcus to endure plagues, or was it logos adapting to human frailty across schools? The canonical event anchoring this practice hits in the 1st century CE when Epictetus formalized it in his discourses, teaching slaves and elites alike to premeditate hardships during his exile in Nicopolis, his lectures drawing crowds who hung on every word, turning personal lameness into universal lessons on foreseeing loss to cherish the now, a turning point that embedded negative visualization into Stoicism's core curriculum, preserved by Arrian's notes that spread like wildfire through Roman circles, influencing everything from frontier generals to foreign merchants facing uncertain trades. You try it fully now, closing your eyes to the room's dim light, imagining your favorite mug shattering on the floor, ceramic shards scattering like confetti at a clumsy party, the hot spill soaking into the rug with a faint sizzle, and suddenly you're hugging the intact cup closer, its warmth a tangible gift against your palms, the exercise stripping away entitlement like peeling an onion layer by layer, until gratitude shines through, logos the knife making clean cuts through complacency. It's quirky how modern apps gamify this Stoic journaling prompts popping up like, what if your Wi-Fi died forever? Turning ancient prep into daily quests, but without the Roman bathhouse gossip to follow. Just you and your thoughts in this rainy refuge, the window's condensation fogging slightly from your breath, blurring the outside world into irrelevance. You shift to voluntary discomfort next, that Cleanthes-inspired grind where you deliberately skip comforts to build resilience, like ditching your soft bed for a night on the couch, the lumpy cushions pressing into your back like a medieval monk's stone pallet, the fabric's faint mustiness reminding you of those cloistered cells where Stoicism whispered through Christian vows, training the body to shrug off luxuries as indifference. Start small cold showers in the morning, water cascading icy over your skin like a frontier river dip, goosebumps rising in protest while you breathe through it, logos reminding you that warmth is a bonus, not a birthright, each shiver a step toward Epictetus's unchained freedom, where even a twisted leg couldn't conquer the will. You imagine applying it tomorrow, foregoing your usual coffee run for black brew at home, the bitter edge sharpening your senses without the syrupy crutch, and feel the empowerment bubble up, sarcasm kicking in as you think, great, now I'm paying bills and pretending to be poor for fun, who said philosophy wasn't a party. Joke one floats by lightly, Why did the Stoic skip the heated blanket? Because Logos already kept him toasty, indifferent to chills, except the Netflix kind. You grin, the rain's tempo slowing to a drizzle that makes the room feel even cozier, a contrast that amplifies the practice's point. Discomfort, sharpening appreciation, like salt on a meal. An odd detail from history sneaks in here. Some Stoics, like Musonius Rufus, Epictetus's teacher, practiced this by eating only bread and water for days, but reportedly added bizarre twists, like reciting poetry backward, while fasting to train the mind alongside the body, a quirky combo that turned meals into mental marathons. Imagine mumbling Homer in reverse over stale crusts, Logos flexing in unexpected ways. Did it sharpen focus or just induce hunger hallucinations? You adapt it gently, perhaps walking barefoot on your carpet tonight, the fibers tickling your soles in unfamiliar patterns, grounding you in the present, while the diffuser's lavender wafts stronger, a sensory anchor against distractions, building that inner citadel brick by voluntary brick, much like Marcus reviewing troops in the mud, indifferent to the mire underfoot. The practice extends to relationships, too, practicing memento mori, remembering death, as Seneca urged, by hugging loved ones tighter, imagining their absence to savor their presence. The hug's warmth, a fleeting gift in Logos' grand scheme, turning routine into ritual without the morbid overtones, just a soft reminder whispered over dinner's clinking plates. You ease into the final core practice. The view from above, that Marcus favorite where you zoom out mentally like a drone over your life, seeing petty worries as specks in the cosmic vastness. Logos, the wide-angle lens turning traffic jams into ant trails, your boss's critique, a blip in eternity's timeline. Sit with it now, eyes half closed to the rain-streaked window, imagining Earth from space, your armchair a tiny dot on a spinning blue marble, indifference shrinking to irrelevance, while virtue looms large. The exercise dissolving ego like sugar in tea, stirring calm into chaos. Apply it to stress picture your deadline frenzy from afar, a fleeting flurry in history's parade, and feel the pressure lift. Breaths deeper as the cafe know, home ambience of ticking clocks and distant thunder lulls. You, sarcasm noting how you're basically astral, projecting without the woo-woo crystals. Joke 2. What did the Stoics say from space? Look at all those indifferents down there, traffic. Looks cute from up here. You chuckle quietly, the sound swallowed by the room's hush, the practice grounding you in perspective, callbacks to Chrysippus's universe as a living being now visualized in NASA feeds, but felt in your quiet corner. These practices weave together negative visualization, prepping for discomfort, the view from above, framing it all, turning Stoicism from theory to therapy in your daily loop. Logos, the thread stitching ancient endurance to modern mindfulness. You stretch, the chair sighing with you, the rain now a faint mist outside, the diffuser's scent fading into memory as you ponder one more twist digital detox as voluntary discomfort, silencing your phone for an hour, notifications, indifferent ghosts in the machine, reclaiming focus like a Renaissance scholar, ignoring court drama for scrolls. Joke 3. Why did the Stoic ghost his group chat, indifferent to the drama plus? Logos doesn't do read receipts. The sarcasm lands soft, the evening winding down in this practical embrace. Stoicism's tools sharpening your edge for tomorrow's indifference, ready to endure with grace. You're drifting through the quiet haze of your own thoughts now, the armchair's cushions cradling you like an old friend who's seen too many late nights, the lavender diffuser exhaling its final whispers into the room as the rain outside tapers to a distant murmur, each fading drop a soft punctuation mark on the day's end, leaving the air cooler, cleaner, with just a hint of petrichor seeping through the window, like nature's own bedtime story closing its pages. You've journeyed far from Zeno's soaked stumble onto Athenian shores, through Cleanthus's calloused hands hauling water under moonlight, Chrysippus's razor-sharp logic carving order from chaos, all the way to Marcus's mud-splattered meditations on the frontier and Epictetus's unbreakable grin amid chains. And now, in this modern sanctuary of yours, Stoicism's enduring wisdom settles over you like a well-worn blanket, its threads woven from those ancient storms, but tailored for today's tempests, where algorithms dictate moods and notifications, hijack peace, logos, still the steady compass pointing through the fog of feeds and fears. You lean back further, the chair sighing with you as if agreeing, the lamp's glow dimming just a touch, casting elongated shadows that stretch across the floor like lingering echoes of porches past, inviting you to reflect on how this philosophy, born from a merchant's ruin, outlasted empires and inquisitions, its lessons timeless, not because they're flashy, but because they're forged in the quiet fire of human resilience, ready to navigate the chaos of your own life with a calm that's almost defiant. You close your eyes for a moment, the room's hush deepening as your breath slow to match the occasional drip from the eaves outside, and picture applying that view from above to your scrolling habits, zooming out until your timeline looks like ants scrambling on a picnic blanket, each like or retweet a fleeting speck in the grand cosmic picnic, indifference that don't define you any more than a Roman senator's lost toga pin defined his virtue logos, reminds you the real feast is in your choices, not the crumbs of validation scattered by strangers. It's this perspective that makes Stoicism stick in today's whirlwind, where FOMO fuels endless hustles and burnout lurks like a shadow behind every promotion, the philosophy whispering to pause, to see the rat race as a hamster wheel spinning in place, your inner citadel, the one fortress no algorithm can breach, built brick by voluntary discomfort during those cold showers that jolt you awake, or negative visualizations that turn potential layoffs into mental rehearsals for reinvention, gratitude blooming from the imagined loss like flowers after a storm. You smirk at the irony ancient Greeks dodging fate's sucker punches, you dodging doom scrolls at 2 a.m., all proving happiness hinges on thoughts, not thumbnails. A bold claim in an era where influencers peddle perfection, but Stoicism calls their bluff with a sarcastic shrug, saying, sure, chase the glow up, but virtue's the only filter that doesn't fade. The canonical event sealing this enduring appeal unfolds in the late 20th century, when Pierre Hadot's philosophy as a way of life, in 1995, reframes Stoicism not as dusty theory, but lived practice, his insights sparking the modern surge by emphasizing spiritual exercises over intellectual debates, a turning point that inspires today's podcasts and apps, turning Marcus's private jottings into public prescriptions for resilience in a post-truth world where facts bend like reeds in the wind, but logos stands unbowed. You feel it resonate as you open your eyes, the rain now silent, the window clear enough to reflect your face back at you, a canvas for those timeless lessons. Accept what comes, control what you can, let the rest roll off like water from a Stoic's back. Practices that transform commutes into contemplations and crises into classrooms, enduring because they're simple, not simplistic. A quiet rebellion against the noise that demands you react to every ping, instead inviting you to respond with reason, like upgrading from knee-jerk emojis to thoughtful pauses that let life breathe. Historians still debate whether Stoicism's timelessness stems from its adaptability, bending like bamboo through Christianity's rise and Renaissance rediscoveries to fit modern therapies, or if it's inherently universal, logos a hardwired human need that resurfaces whenever chaos peaks, a cosmic blueprint we can't escape any more than gravity did it endure because we evolved it, or because it evolved us. You shift slightly, the armchair's fabric rustling softly like pages turning in a well-loved book, and an odd detail from Stoicism's lore floats up. Epictetus reportedly used a wooden leg after his laming, but some accounts claim he carved motivational quotes into it, quirky inscriptions like, "This too is indifferent," displayed as he hobbled through lectures, turning disability into a walking billboard for resilience. Imagine the stairs in ancient markets, his crutch, a conversation starter that outshone any TED prop, a reminder that wisdom wears many forms, even prosthetic ones. It's this human touch that keeps Stoicism relevant. Athletes invoking it for pressure-packed games, visualizing losses to savor wins, veterans processing trauma through journals that echo Seneca's self-rebukes, CEOs leading without ego by premeditating boardroom betrayals, all proving the philosophy's not for hermits, but hustlers. Its jokes landing lighter in tough times, like, why did the Stoic refuse therapy? Because logos already had the couch talk covered, no copay needed. You laugh quietly, the sound absorbed by the room's hush, sarcasm a gentle foil to the weightier truths, where enduring wisdom means embracing amor fati, loving fate not as a cruel joke, but a cosmic script where you're both actor and audience, navigating today's chaos with the grace of a porch philosopher who lost everything but found more. The lamp flickers once, its bulb humming faintly like a distant fan whirring down, and you reflect on how Stoicism practices those visualizations. Discomforts, views from above aren't escapes but engagements, tools to dance with disorder rather than dodge it, turning digital deluges into deliberate streams where mindfulness apps beep reminders to breathe like Epictetus in exile, indifferent to the empire's roar. In this chaotic now, with climates shifting and connections fracturing, the philosophy endures as a lifeline, whispering that virtue's the only good in a world of fleeting goods, logos, the thread stitching past to present, from shipwrecks to screen addictions, each lesson a step toward peace that's earned, not gifted. You feel it settle, the rain's aftermath leaving the air crisp, ready for sleep's embrace. Stoicism's wisdom, a quiet companion, whispering good night to the noise. Joke 2. What do you call a Stoic in a blackout? Still, enlightened logos, doesn't need batteries. The quip lands soft, fading with the light. And for the final chuckle before dreams, why don't Stoics play the lottery? Indifferent to jackpots, virtue's the real win. No taxes on tranquility. You smile, the enduring lessons wrapping around you like the night's quiet, chaos, navigable, one reasoned breath at a time. As the rain's last echoes fade into a velvety silence that envelops your armchair like a gentle shroud, you let your eyelids drift lower, the lamp's glow softening to a mere ember that blurs the room's edges into a hazy dreamscape where ancient porches and modern screens dissolve into one timeless haze. Stoicism's whispers lingering like a lullaby hummed by the cosmos itself, reassuring you that amid life's relentless whirl, those unyielding deadlines, fleeting connections, and unpredictable storms, you've glimpsed a path of quiet strength, where logos isn't a distant star, but the steady rhythm of your own heartbeat, guiding you through the fog with a grace that's both ancient and intimately yours. The air grows heavier with peace, the lavender's final sigh mingling with your slowing breaths, each inhale drawing in the philosophy's enduring calm, each exhale releasing the day's indifference into oblivion, leaving you anchored in virtue's embrace, ready to face whatever dawn brings, not with fear, but with the serene acceptance of one who's walked with Zeno through shipwrecks, endured with Epictetus in chains, and meditated with Marcus under starry frontiers, their wisdom a soft blanket tucking you in for the night. The world outside quiets completely, the window's reflection now a mirror to your tranquil self, blurring into sleep's welcoming arms, where chaos yields to clarity, and you rest knowing tomorrow's trials are just another chapter in the grand, harmonious script of existence. Logos, the unseen author, penning peace in every pause. Good night, traveler of time. May your dreams be as steadfast as the philosophy that carried us here, fading gently into the hush.